Today, today is day 145 of the year 2024. 145 of day 2024. So I'm not good at math. I can only do 3% of something. And if I did my math correctly, we are about 39% of the way done with the year. 39% of the way done. But what really got me thinking this morning is as I was trying to do the little number into the big number, what really got me thinking this morning was how many working days do I actually have left? So if we have 220 calendar days left, how many working days do we have left? So that's a question that I want to ask you today to do some homework on and figure out of the 220 that are left, how many calendar days are you actually going to work of that 220? So, as always, happy Friday to you. You're going to need something to write with and something to write on. And if you're walking like Chris is, don't do three things at once. You'll fall on your face. If you're driving, come back to this. But you want something to write with and something to write on. You're going to want your calculator if you're not good at math like me. And we're going to jump right in today. And I want to ask you for your permission to have a very frank coaching conversation with you and to have a conversation with you about your business that is not about revenue share, that is not about NAR changes, that is not about social media. This is a down to business conversation about your business. So I told you we're on day 145 of 365. I shared with you there are 220 days left in the year. And if you took out your calendar and divided 145 into 365, that would give you somewhere a little bit over 39%, meaning that we're about 39% of the way through 2024. Now, I want you to ask yourself, and I want you to look at your business, and I want you to go back to January 1 when you set your goals. And I want you to ask yourself, how many closings did you intend on having in 2024? I set a really big, audacious, wild, hairy goal for myself of 100. I am behind. I will share that with you because I believe in transparency. I set a wild goal to sell 100 homes myself personally for the year, and I'm behind. How many units did you set for yourself to sell this year? I then want you to go to your Google spreadsheet, or I want you to go to Excel or CTE or whatever it is that you use to track your business. And I want you to look at how many closings you've taken and you have currently. And then I want you to add your pending transactions. So if you closed 20 and you have 6 pending, your answer is 26. If you close 7 and you have 3 pending, your answer is 10. Okay. So I want you to look at your closed and pending business, and I want you to take that number and I want you to divide it by your unit goal. I want you to divide it by your unit goal. So we're going to, if we go to our calculator, we're going to take the little number and then we're going to hit divide and we're going to put in the big number. And that's going to give us our percentage. Okay. So little number divided by big number. So just to use round numbers and to make the math super simple, let's say our goal was 10 units closed for the year, and year to date, we are at 3. We are sitting at 30% of our goal for the year. Now, I told you that today is day 145 of day 3 of 365, and that we're 39 something percent away through the year. Now, if we want to keep the math simple, we theoretically are, if we're 39% of the way through the year, we should be 39% of our goal if we keep the math simple. I don't want you to share publicly. This is not a public thing for this is a you and your business conversation. Are you ahead or are you behind of your goal for the year? And if we look at the math, are we more than 39% ahead? Or are we less than 39% behind? Are we ahead or behind of the calendar year? Or are we ahead or behind of our goal? There's no right or wrong answer. There's no judgment, right? There's zero judgment. And yet, when I told you I wanted to have a frank conversation with you, and I wanted it to be a coaching conversation with you, when you look at your numbers for where you're at year to date, are you ahead or behind? If you're ahead, congratulations. Your goal wasn't big enough. And you now have the opportunity to have a super stretch goal that you can use for the next 8 months or 7 months as we enter June. This is my favorite weekend of the year. Memorial Day weekend. It's my favorite weekend of the year because we're like 40% of the way through, and we have so much time to tweak everything to hit June running and really capitalize on summer into fall. So this is the exercise that I do every Memorial Day weekend. I look at the goals and I say, am I ahead or am I behind? If I'm behind, like I'm sure some of you are, I ask myself, are the activities that I've done so far going to get me to my goal? Are my activities going to get me to my goal? And this is not a maybe question. This is a definitive yes or a definitive no. If you say, well, maybe, I really want you to challenge yourself to say yes or to say no. I want you to challenge yourself because business is all about numbers. And the numbers don't lie, but we do because we're humans. And we like to give ourselves grace and we like to give ourselves excuses on why something isn't working, why something didn't work. And we want to give ourselves excuses on why we are where we are. Now, again, this is a coaching conversation and I want to be frank with you. Actually, I want to be rich with you. I'm not frank. I want to be straight with you. And I really just want to say, if you're behind, it's your fault. Right? If you're behind, it's your fault. And it's okay. There's no judgment. We have opportunity to change. We have opportunity to make improvements. So as you ask yourself, are the activities I'm doing going to get me to my goal? If the answer is no, I want you to ask yourself, what activities do I need to stop doing? What activities do I need to stop doing to get me there? What activities do I need to stop doing to get me there? Then I want you to ask yourself, what activities that I've done are working that I can double down on? What activities am I doing that are working that I can double down on? And then the last thing I want you to ask yourself is, what can I add? What activities can I add that will directly impact the financial success of my business? What activities can I add that will directly impact the financial success of my business? I don't really want you to go spend more money. That's not what this conversation is about. The conversation is about activity that we either are or aren't doing. And I share this with you because one of the agents that I coach is having the best year in real estate they've ever had. The best year in real estate they've ever had. Why is that important? How many people do you know that have said this market sucks? Nobody's moving. There are no buyers. There are no sellers. And yet this individual is having the best, is on track to have the best year they've ever had. They're currently 66% of the way to their 2024 goals as they head into Memorial Day weekend. And when we had our conversation, it was this exact conversation of what's working, what's not working, and what can we double down on. The answer wasn't I need to spend money over here. It was I need to stop doing this or I need to stop doing that, right? Because the market is the market. And while somebody is having the worst year they've ever had, there are so many people having the best years they've ever had. Because we get to determine the success of the market. We get to determine the success of the market. One of the best activities that we can do is look at how many new listings came on the market in your given area, in your farm, in your city, in your state, in your county, in your MLS, and go, how many of those listings did I take? One of the best things you can do is go in your MLS and do a search of how many properties went under contract in the last 7 days and compare that to how many contracts got accepted that you wrote. Because there's plenty of business, right? The pie is so big, we can have as much of a slice as we want, and everybody gets to eat. The question is, are you willing to pick up the fork and knife and cut yourself a piece of the pie? So that's the frank real estate conversation, coaching conversation I want to have with you today. I want you to look and I want you to see, are you ahead of your goal or are you behind? How much ahead or how much behind are you? Right? If you're 20% behind, we probably need to do 30% more to catch up. Why 30% if we're 20% behind? We're going to have fallout. We're going to have fallout in our business. About 30% of the deals that we put under contract don't close. Industry-wide. About 30% of the deals we put under contract don't close. So if we're 20% behind, we need to build in 30% for those deals that don't close, okay? So we figured that out. We're 20% behind. We need to do 30% more activities. What activities do we do? Great question. I'm so glad you asked. There are 5 things. There are 5 things that we need to figure out this weekend as we look at our goals and take some time off and relax with our friends and our family. I do not want you to work all weekend. I do not care where you're at. I do not care how busy you are. I do not want you to work all weekend. Stop it. Stop it. These are the 5 things that we need to figure out. Where can we increase our lead generation? Where can we increase our lead generation? Number 2, where can we increase our lead follow-up? Where can we increase our lead follow-up? Number 3, where can we increase our appointments gone on? Where can we increase our appointments gone on? Number 4, where can we practice? Where can we practice our negotiation skills? Where can we practice our negotiation skills? And number 5, where can I increase my role play? Where can I increase my role play? Those 5 things are the most important 5 things we do in our business every day. Every day. Nothing else matters outside of those 5 things. In fact, I'd argue that the job description of a real estate agent is only 5 things. It's to lead generate, follow up with the leads we generated, go on appointments, negotiate contracts, and get really, really good at the words that come out of our mouth. And get really, really good at the words that come out of our mouth. I want you to look at your calendar, and I want you to start there. Where are you available for appointments? Where are you going to increase your lead generation? If you're lead generating for an hour a day, and that's on your calendar, and you lead generate for an hour a day, where can you add another 30 minutes? Where can you add another 30 minutes? If you're looking at your calendar, you should also have lead follow-up on there. Where can I increase my lead follow-up to another 30 minutes? Are we following up with leads when we tell them we're going to? Or are we going to get to it later, and later never happens, just like going to the gym? Unless you're Chris. I don't even think she sleeps. When are you going on appointments? Do you have open availability on your calendar of when you're available, so that when you're lead generating, or when that random person calls and says, hey, I want you to come list my house, when are you available? You don't schedule over date night. You don't schedule over soccer practice. You don't schedule over the massage that you've been dying to have, that you now have to cancel because you didn't put it on your calendar. When are we going to have the practice time for our conversations? Because guys, yes or yes, the conversations in our industry with our sellers are changing. The conversation that we're having with our buyers are changing. Remember the conversation that we had, I don't know, 2 years ago about like marry the house and date the rate? Does anybody actually know how to intelligently have that conversation with a buyer? Or are we just running around going, marry the house, date the rate? Who cares how high your interest rate is? Do you like the house? You should buy it. It's no different than, here's a piece of shit car, go buy it. Who cares how expensive it is? Who cares how many miles it has? Or are we taking the time to educate the buyers and saying, here's why you might want to consider buying this house, even though it has a higher interest rate? Because at the rate homes appreciate, you're going to build X number of dollars in potential equity, so that when the rate comes down, you're in a great equity position to refinance. And we've calculated the cost of refinancing. And here's why this might make a really great financial decision for you. We need to be advisors, not car salesmen. The conversation that you have with your clients is the most important conversation you have. Imagine going to a doctor's office and the doctor going, yeah, we'll have surgery. We might not have surgery. It doesn't really matter. The choice is yours, really. I don't know if you necessarily need to have a Band-Aid, but if you want one, we can get you one. Do you want anesthesia, or do you want me to leave you open on the table when we start, so you can feel everything? Those are the conversations you have with your clients. And some of you have them just like that. And it shows. I want you to stop having basic conversations with people that are paying you a ton of money for very little work. That's the reality. We get paid a ton of money and we're not digging holes. We're not climbing telephone poles. We're not saving lives. We're selling houses. When your phone calls, when your phone rings, that could be a $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 phone call. Are you treating it like that? Are you treating it like that? Told you we were going to have a coaching conversation today. I hope you saw value in the last 25 minutes. I hope I wasn't too harsh. And yet, I hope that what you heard me say is you have a tremendous opportunity in front of you to catch up if you're behind, to kick major butt if you're ahead, and to really provide an opportunity for your friends and your family and the people that count on you to do amazing things. Because we don't have to go to school for 8 years to make the money that we make. We don't have to risk our lives in traffic to make the kind of money we need to make. We get to sell houses. We get to look at really cool houses. Some are total pieces of crap. Some's land. But we get to do really cool things with people, right? And we get to be a part of some of the biggest financial decisions that they make. And most Americans have the majority of their wealth tied up in their real estate. We get to do cool things. We get to do amazing things. But we got to do the work. So that's what I want to leave you with as we enter Memorial Day weekend. Do not work all weekend. I'm giving you permission to not work all weekend. If you live near a beach, go there. If you don't live near a beach, find a park. Spend time focusing on resetting mentally, reset physically, and get yourself in a position that you can have a kick-ass June. Because there's 220 calendar days left in the year. 220 calendar days left in the year, which means there's 220 opportunities for you to build an amazing business. Have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. And I'll talk to you guys next week.